if you go to Eclipse, there, so one thing I would like to mention, if you go back to lab 2 for last week, week 4 lab 2, you can see that the harder array example I did, right? So that one didn't quite work when right before I did the last demonstration, right? It's simply because I forgot to put input the next line after the next int. So for the lab test on this Thursday, you might run into the same issue. So I would suggest put this also on your quick sheet, okay, to really remind yourself. Whenever you're trying to mix next int and next line, you really want to put after every next int or next double a next line. Okay, that's something I explained already in the instructions. Okay, so if you do that, that will actually work. So that's a small example to show you. The user tells you how many numbers they would like to enter. In that case, you will create an array of the according size, and then you try to enter the number one by one. So we will do something similar today for the exercise. So just to review. Okay. So let's just go back to still week 4 lab 2. Let's try to solve this problem here together. Okay. So now let's call that array facilities. Okay, the class. So right click on the project and then new class. Okay, you can call that array facilities. And then with the main method over there. Okay. Okay, let's go slowly here. So for question number 1 for the problems, we are actually going to ask the users how many numbers do you want to process. So they can enter any number, including 0. Okay. So and then we're going to create an array of integers accordingly. Let's do this part here because we did it already last time. So now let's try scanner, and then input is assigned to new scanner system.in. Okay, first of all, let's prompt the user for how many numbers they would like to enter. They would like to be processed. So you can say system.out.println. You can say how many numbers do you want to process? How many numbers do you want to process? And now the user is going to give you some number, right? So let's say integer, let's just say, again, how many, okay? Just to be consistent with the previous exercise. Will be assigned to input.next int. And just in case, let's also put the input the next line right away. Okay, that's what you should do in the lab test. Next line. Okay, so now the user might say any number they like over here. Let's just make an assumption that they don't put any negative number. Just let's ignore the error checking just for now. Whatever number the user enters for how many, we're going to create an array of the size accordingly. So now we can do, since they're going to enter numbers, so it's going to be, rather than string array, it's going to be integer array. So remember the syntax, we're going to say integer int curly square brackets, right? So that will be integer array. You can say, what about just numbers? It's assigned to, so that's a syntax new, and the integer array with the size. In this case, it depends on what the value that each user entered to you. So that'll be just how many. Okay, we have done this already. Okay, let's do a simpler version here. The problem over there is slightly more complicated. It says that user, when they say 10, it doesn't really mean they're going to enter exactly 10. They might enter anything up to 10, up to 10 numbers. That'll be slightly more complicated. Well, let's try a simpler version. Let's say if the user says they're going to enter 10 numbers, they are really going to enter 10 numbers exactly. That'll be slightly easier. Let's try that version first. Since we kind of know how many iterations we need, so we use a for loop. So we can say for integer I assigned to 0, because the index of the array starts with 0. So always we use a loop counter initialized with 0. I is assigned to 0, I less than how many? Let's say if how many is actually 10, that means we go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 9. That'll be the maximum index. Okay, and then I plus plus. Okay, let's do that. And now for each one of them, we're going to ask the user to enter a number. Let's see, let me just see the end out here. Okay, so now we can say system.out.println enter a number. Okay, and then we're going to read the number from the user. So we can use the input scanner. We can say integer number is assigned to be input.next int. Okay, and then to be safe, let's say also input.next line. Okay, so after this, we're going to save the number into the array, right? So now let's try to do this. Now we can say numbers array. I will just do this one first, and I'll draw your diagram just to review. Numbers at position I. So it depends on the current value of the loop counter. Is assigned to number. Let's do some simulation on the board to see how this is going to work, and then we'll double check on Eclipse. Okay, now let's imagine that this is the console. If this is the console you have, so first of all, you would say how many. Okay. If the user says, I want to enter 3, they say 3. What your program will do is it is going to create internally an array called numbers with exactly the size of 3 elements with indices 0, 1, and 2. Initially, just nothing there. Just imagine that's nothing. And then your program is going to prompt you exactly 3 times. The first time, he's going to say enter a number. Okay, so now basically we are now already in the loop. Okay, and because we know that for the loop counter I, it starts with the integer value 0 for the very first iteration. So now let's try to enter a number. For example, let's say 12. If it's a 12, in this case, because we know the current value of I is actually 0, so what we will do, you can see that in line number 20 there in my code, we're going to assign to position 0 the value 12. Okay? So this is what we're going to do. We're going to do numbers at position 0 is assigned to 12. Okay? That's what it's going to do. After this, we'll get 12 over here. And then after this, the program will say enter another integer, enter another number here. Let's just say 24 maybe. If you say 24 here, what the program is going to do is, because the loop counter has been incremented from 0 to 1, so now we're going to assign to position 1 over here with the latest value we just read, which is 24. After this, we got 24 here. Okay, let's try one more because we got 3 numbers. Enter a number here, so we get 36. So now we move to the third iteration where the I value is 2. So now we're going to do the following assignments. We're going to say numbers at position 2. You can see I's value is 0, 1, and 2, right? It's now assigned to 36. After this, I will be incremented to 3. But now no more should be done because you can see 3 is, oh, by the way, I got 36 here. So now you can see that 3 less than how many, which is 3, is false, which means exit from the loop. So after this, we should get 12, 24, and 36. Let's try this. So the way to try this is by looking at the debugger. Okay, let's try to look at that just at the end. Okay, what about I just put a breakpoint over here? Okay, how about I just say system.out.println just to show that you have entered this many number. How many numbers? Okay. Well, I'll make it more elaborate a little bit later. Okay. So let's put a breakpoint right here. Right here. Okay. And now let's run a debugger for this program. You can just press on this button here, right? There's a block here. Click on that. How many numbers do you want to process? Let's do exactly the example on the board. 3, enter a number, 12, 24, 36. So now we reach the breakpoint, right? Let's try to see it. If you look at the variables over here, you'll see under numbers, you got 12, 24, and 36. So that's exactly what we're expecting, right? So I'll recommend that you actually try to use the breakpoint debugger to try each iteration. There are only 3 iterations to track to understand this a little bit more. Any questions up to now? Okay, so now let's make the program a little more sophisticated. So now this program here is not very flexible because if they say 3, they have to type exactly 3 times. What about if we say, they say 3, that means maximum they can enter 3 numbers. But as soon as they enter some signal value, for example, let's say -1. As soon as they got something like a -1, that means they want to stop. Okay? Or if they actually already enter 3 and they want to continue, which they should be allowed to, right? That's something we can handle. Okay? Let's say we do the following. We want to do this extension here. As soon as the user actually enters -1, that means they want to exit. They don't want to continue anymore. So only -1 is a special value there. Okay, let's see that. I think this will, according to your problem, okay, let's do this one, right at the -1. Let's just ask a better question. Would you like to continue? Okay, let's do this, the following extension. Okay, so now after each iteration over there, we want to ask the user, would you like to continue? Okay, let's do that. So we can say system.out.println. Would you like to continue? If they say yes, they'll go ahead and continue. If they say no, we just exit from the loop. Okay, we'll see how the loop should be changed accordingly in a moment. Okay, so now we're going to read a string from the user. You can say the answer can be either y or n, but nothing else. Okay, let's make the make it a little bit simpler. For the assignments, you have to handle if the user try to enter anything other than y or n, right? But let's make it a little bit simpler. Okay, just we assume it's going to be either y or n. Let's assume. So now let's read some answer from the user. You can say string answer is assigned to input dot next line. Okay, so now we want to know whether the answer is either y or n, right? In the case yes, we should really keep running the loop. In the case where it is y, in the case it's y, we should keep running the loop. In the case it's n, we should really exit. Okay, so now I would suggest the following over here. We're going to do some early exit for the for loop, which means as long as the user wants to exit, we should really allow them to do so. Okay, what we can do is we have a Boolean variable here. We can say Boolean here, user wants to continue. Initially just true, so make sure we can at least let them try once. Okay, and now I'm going to use this variable as part of the state condition, as we said in the lecture today, right? How we can use a conjunction as the state condition. So now we can say user wants to continue as part of the state condition here. So you can see this is the new extended state condition. So this is to say the following. We're going to repeatedly asking the user for numbers as long as they have not entered too many numbers. That's the first part. And also, they also want to continue, right? They didn't say no. Okay? So this is a conjunction over here. Okay, so now let's try to see this. As I said before, a very common error logical error is if somehow you say, oh, that's it, I'm done. That's not good. Because in this case, user wants to continue is never updated inside the loop. Never ever. So it will remain true. So which means somehow having that is like not having it. So we want to somehow update this value here. So I want to make a comment here. So now we want to update. Update user wants to continue according to their current answer. Okay, that's what I want to do. Okay, how do we update? Okay. The way we do it is by simply checking if the answer is y or n, right? We can say if answer dot equals, remember we use dot equals rather than equal, right? Dot equals y, then that means user wants to continue will remain to be true. Otherwise, that'll be false. That's one way to do it. I'll show you a simpler version in just a moment. If that's y, that should be true. If that's something else, which we assume to be n, that's what we assume, then that should be false. That's one version here. I think when I talk about selections, we got a similar simplification case, right? Let's see how we can do it. Why don't we simply just assign whatever result we get from answer that equals y to the Boolean variable? That will also do. Okay. So let me just put this one into comments. You can select this block over here, do Control and /. I'll put it into comments. Okay. Let me show you this version here. You can say user wants to continue is assigned to this condition here. You can just copy that and put it here. That will also do. That means if answer that equals y is true, we're going to store true in that variable. If that's false, we're going to store false over there. Okay, just simpler. You can certainly use that longer version. That's also correct, but just a little bit inconvenience. As you get more experience, maybe you would prefer the later kind over here. Okay, that's what we have over here. Let's try. Okay. Let's try this. How many numbers do you want to process? Let's say 10. Enter a number 12, 24. So you can see somehow, let me do it again. Okay. How many numbers? 10, 12. Do you want to continue? Let's say yes. Enter a number. Okay. I say 24. Would you like to continue? Yes. And 36. Let's say I don't want to continue anymore. And you have entered 10 numbers. So that allows us to exit earlier, right? Any question about this, actually? Questions, please? Before I ask it to walk around and help you. If you got any questions, we can do that now. Oh, that one? Very good question. Let's fix this. So you can see this message here to say how many numbers you have entered is not quite correct, right? We're going to fix that. How do we know how many numbers we have entered so far? So I would suggest let's have a separate integer counter for that. Okay, let me show you how to do it. So let's say before the loop, we're going to say integer numbers read. How about entered? Initially 0. We have read nothing. Initially 0. Every time when we read a new number, we're going to increment this counter. Okay. Okay, you put it outside the loop over here. So its scope is going to cover the entire loop. Okay. So now let's say this. Every time after we read a new number, let's say put it here. Let's say after we assign a number to the array, we can say numbers enters plus plus. Right? That means we are incrementing the counter, right? So for the very first iteration, we're going to increment that from 0 to 1. 1 to 2, 2 to 3, etc. And let's try again to see, oh, before we do that, you have entered numbers entered, right? How many will always be 10 in that case, but now we just get whatever number you have entered. Yes? It's a good question. So I would say you can certainly use I as a value. In that case, I would say try not to mix loop counter with separate counter. Conceptually, it's good to separate them. Yeah, but you can certainly get on with that. That's fine. Yeah, but I would say just to avoid confusion, that's why I'm using a separate counter. Okay, let's try this. Now let's try this. Let's say how many numbers? Let's say maximum 10. 12. I want to continue. Enter number 24. Let's say I don't want to continue anymore. And you have entered 2 numbers. So now that makes sense, right? Any questions? Okay, how about this? I'll just pause here for just about 3 or 4 minutes so you can walk around, you can play with the code, make sure it runs well, and then I'll continue with the progress with more interesting